Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 6. Um, I hope that you all had a great weekend. This week, actually, we're going to start our very first micro chapter, chapter 6, which is about elasticity. We will talk about different types of elasticity in this chapter. You need to know all the formulas, all the concepts, what will mean, for instance, by price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, income elasticity, and cross elasticity. So definitely pay attention to their definitions, calculations. I recorded some videos for you, so check out the materials in week 6 on D12. Let me know if you have any question. You have, of course, homework on Connect. Let me just get my notes. So you have a smart book and also homework 4. You should complete it by October 5th. You do not have any new discussion this week. I got a few emails before I talk about chapter 6 briefly. Let me just mention something. In my email last week, I reminded you about your topics for the term paper, which is due in October. So what I want basically for that deadline is for you to give me a topic, what you are going to write about for your term paper. So in a Word file, I just want your name, your course number, section number, and the title of your term paper. You can definitely change it in the future. If you want to change it, you have to contact me, let me know. But for now, I want you to have a topic in mind, and basically don't just write, for instance, if you want to write about Amazon and how Amazon is doing during, let's say, pandemic, don't just write Amazon because it's just the name, it's a broad topic. So break it down, tell me what exactly you want to discuss about Amazon, what aspect of Amazon basically you are going to discuss. So basically have a research question for me. That's it. That's the only thing I need. So just type everything down in a Word file. As I said, I need to have a research question from you and a title, okay, both of them. So you want to see how the Amazon is doing during pandemic, and then have a research question that, are you going to look at the stocks of Amazon? Are you going to look at the Amazon's revenue? Are you going to look at Amazon marketing? Things like that. Okay, so briefly, it can be in just 2 lines. Okay, that's it, 1 or 2 lines. That's it. At this point, I want you to have a topic, think about what you're going to write, and then you will definitely receive my feedback. Okay. Even if it's a macro topic, I'll reach out to you and I will tell you, oh, okay, this is a macro topic. We can change it and we can make it a micro topic, okay? But definitely submit your topic. It had 10 points out of 100. 100 goes to your term papers. 10 points of that 100 is coming from this submission, okay? Your topics for the term project. Let me know if you have any question. All right, I just got a few emails. So I just wanted to clarify what I'm expecting. But everything, of course, is on the syllabus. So your source should be the syllabus. So if you have any question, how I should write the paper, how I should submit my topic, everything is on the syllabus. So definitely go back and read the syllabus again. All right. Okay, so let me briefly talk about chapter 6. This chapter is very, very important, and you will get lots of questions. Actually, I was just working on your second test. There will be lots of questions from chapter 6 on the second test. Because it has lots of concepts, it has so many, as I said, calculation kind of. So definitely, I would suggest that keep your calendars handy from now on when you are studying, when you're taking the test. Of course, it's an online class, so you can definitely keep the formulas next to you when you're taking the test. That's fine with me. Just make sure you know how to use the formulas, because sometimes we have the formulas right in front of us, but we do not have any clue how to use them. So have some practice, make sure that you use them, but it's okay if you want to keep them handy, especially while you're taking the test, okay? The second test will be over chapter 5, 6, and 7. You studied chapter 5 last week. As you saw, it's just a reading chapter. You will get like few questions from chapter 5, easy ones. The focus of the second test will be on chapter 6 and chapter 7, especially chapter 6, okay? We will talk about it for chapter 7 next week. If you remember, in chapter 3, we talked about demand and supply. So again, if you have difficulties remembering demand and supply, or if you're still struggling with these two concepts, definitely go back to chapter 3, review everything, what we mean by demand, quantity demanded, supply, quantity supplied. Let me know if you have any question, okay? So let's just start with price elasticity of demand, because the focus of this chapter is on price elasticity of demand. And I named the 3 other elasticities that we have. So we have 4 elasticities in total in this chapter, but the focus will be on the first one, price elasticity of demand. And I'm going to briefly talk about it, and then you can apply the same kind of concept to other elasticities, okay? So in chapter 3, we talked about law of demand, and it was the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. So if something is expensive, you buy less. So if price increases, your quantity demanded, and remember, quantity demanded was just one single number. If the price is 5 for, let's say, a marker, I'm just going to buy 1. So quantity demanded is 1 when price is 5, okay? So if price increases, the quantity demanded will go down. That was law of demand. If something is less expensive, so price decreases, I'm going to buy more. My quantity demanded will go up. Remember, quantity demanded is different from demand. Quantity demanded is just one single number or one single point on the demand curve. Demand is the list of different prices, different quantity demanded. If you put them together, then you can have your demand, okay? Demand curve or demand schedule. All right. The only thing also that we discussed in chapter 3, and you had a couple questions on the test, on the first test, the only thing that can change the quantity demanded is price. So whenever the price changes, the quantity demanded will change. So you will move along the very same demand curve. There is no shifting in demand. If anything other than price changes, however, the entire demand curve will shift. Anything other than price, like your income, expectations, look at the determinants of demand we had in chapter 3, okay? Price of other goods, substitute, complementary goods, okay? So we talked about law of demand in chapter 3, this inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. In chapter 6, we're going to measure how much this quantity demanded is going to change when there is a change in price, okay? So we're going to measure how much this QD we had in chapter 3 will go up when price is decreasing, how much this quantity demanded will go down when price is going up. We're going to measure this change in quantity demanded. That's the job of price elasticity of demand. Do we care as consumers about price elasticity of demand? Absolutely not. We do not care. We don't really care how much this quantity demanded is going to change. We'll look at, of course, our budgets. We'll look at the prices. We'll look at other factors when we want to buy, let's say, a marker. But we definitely are not going to measure this change in quantity demanded. But remember, this is a micro class, and microeconomics is all about businesses, firms, right? So the price elasticity of demand is super duper important to businesses, okay? Businesses, they care about price elasticity of demand. They have to care about price elasticity of demand. Why? Because they need to know how much they're going to change their price. Are they going to increase their prices by $1 or by 1 cent? They should definitely know how their buyers are going to react to this change in price. And again, that is the job of price elasticity of demand. Are the buyers going to freak out when they see a 1 cent increase or 1% increase in the price? Okay. Or they just don't care. They keep buying it. Okay. The quantity demanded absolutely will change when the price is changing. But again, remember, we want to see how much this quantity is going to change, okay? If the buyers are not sensitive to changes in price, if quantity demanded doesn't change that much, we say that the demand is inelastic, okay? The buyers are not sensitive to changes in price, okay? So you change the price, but the quantity demanded will change, but very, very small. So the change in quantity demanded is not that significant, okay? But if you change the price and the quantity demanded changes a lot, the buyers are very, very sensitive to changes in the price, then we are dealing with elastic demand, okay? We typically have elastic demand when we have lots of substitute for our product, okay? So let's say chocolate. Chocolate has elastic demand. There are tons of different brands for chocolate in the market. So if Hershey's bar becomes more expensive, you have alternatives. You are going to switch to another brand, okay? So your demand for a Hershey's bar is elastic. If price changes, your quantity demand will go change a lot because you have other substitute for it, okay? But we have some products like, let's say, water, salt, toothbrush, okay? They have inelastic demand. You do not have that many substitute for them. So if the price changes, your quantity demanded again will change, but not much. If you used to buy, I don't know, 2 toothbrushes or 3 toothbrushes when you are running your errands for the month, right now you are going, and let's say the price is going up, it's more expensive than before, you still keep buying toothbrush, right? Because you want to brush your teeth, but instead of buying 3 at a time, you're going to buy just 1 or 2, okay, depending on how big your household is, all right? So your quantity demanded will change, but not much. So your demand is inelastic. So the price elasticity of demand can tell us how sensitive we are as buyers to change in price. Are we going to freak out? Do we have elastic demand? Or we really don't care because we don't have other options, so we have inelastic demand, okay? Pay attention to how we calculate elasticity. Remember, for price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply, when we are done with our calculations, we're going to figure out if the demand and supply are elastic or inelastic. We're going to compare our answers with number 1. If price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply are greater than 1, it means that our demand and our supply are elastic. If it's less than 1, it means that demand or supply are inelastic. If rarely they are equal to 1, then it means that the change in price, the percentage change in price, is equal to the percentage change in quantity. Doesn't matter if it's quantity demanded or it's quantity supplied, okay? So basically the change in quantity demanded is equal to the change in price. That's why we have elasticity equals 1. We say we have unit elastic demand or unit elastic supply. We rarely have unit elastic demand and unit elastic supply in real world, okay? So price elasticity of supply is very, very similar to price elasticity of demand, okay? So pay attention how we calculate them, all right? So for price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, we compare our calculations with number 1, okay? Before I move on to the 2 other elasticities, let me just mention one thing. We also have extreme cases where the elasticity is 0 or when the elasticity is infinity. Pay attention to perfectly elastic demand, perfectly elastic supply, perfectly inelastic demand, perfectly inelastic supply. And you will see when it comes to the extreme cases, we do not have, let's say, for price elasticity of demand. It's very similar to price elasticity of supply. It means that instead of, let's say, demand, instead of having a downward slope demand as we had in chapter 3, we have a different shape for our demand. If we have perfectly inelastic demand, it means that the elasticity is 0, then we have a vertical demand. If the elasticity is infinity, then we have the horizontal demand. We do not have, and we call it perfectly elastic demand. We no longer have downward slope demand. Same thing for supply. For income elasticity and cross elasticity, the only thing that we care about is the sign of income elasticity and cross elasticity. And again, they are related to chapter 3. If you review the determinants of demand in chapter 3, we had income and we had price of related goods, substitute, and complementary goods. So the sign of income elasticity and cross elasticity can tell us if the product is normal or inferior, if it's income elasticity, and the sign of cross elasticity can tell us if the two products that the question is talking about are substitute or complementary. Remember that the price elasticity of demand is always negative. Why? Because of the law of demand, the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. But we don't really care about it because we're going to look at the absolute value. We're going to ignore the negative sign, okay? So no problem. And then we're going to compare our result with number 1. For supply, for price elasticity of supply, we don't have any problem with it in terms of sign. Because of the law of supply, there is a positive relationship between price and quantity supplied. Again, go back to chapter 3. So the sign of price elasticity of supply is always positive. Again, so we compare our results with number 1. Okay, so for price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply, we're not going to be concerned about the sign of these two elasticities. So we compare our results with number 1. For income elasticity and cross elasticity, however, the only thing we care about is the sign, because the sign can tell us the type of product we're talking about. For income elasticity, the income elasticity measures basically how sensitive the buyers are to changes in income. Okay, and the sign of income elasticity can tell us if the product is normal or inferior. If the income elasticity is positive, our product is normal. If it's negative, it's inferior. Cross elasticity is related to substitute good and complementary good. So the cross elasticity measures basically how sensitive the buyers are to changes in price, and how much more or less they are going to buy the related good. So if the price of coffee is increasing, how much more or less people will buy tea as a substitute? We can measure that change, okay? And the sign of cross elasticity can tell us if these two products, coffee and tea, let's say in this example, are substitute or complementary. Of course, we know it from chapter 3, but again, we're going to look at some numbers and some signs, okay, to figure that relationship out. So if the cross elasticity is positive, then the two products, coffee and tea in this example, are substitute. If the sign of cross elasticity is negative, the two products we're talking about are complementary, okay? So pay attention to the definitions, how we define these elasticities, how we calculate them, how we read our numbers, because it's not just enough to calculate it. What does it mean if the price elasticity of demand is 2.5? What does it mean if the price elasticity of supply is 0.5? Okay, we compare them with number 1. If it's greater than 1, demand is elastic in my example. The price elasticity of supply of 0.5 is less than 1. So the supply in this example is inelastic. So make sure you know how to read also your calculations, okay? As I said, you're going to get lots of questions from chapter 6 on the second test. Oh, another thing that I forgot actually to mention for price elasticity of demand, and I'm intending to keep my videos short, is total revenue test. Definitely make sure that you also review the total revenue test. And this is the very first time that we're introducing the total revenue concept. For those of you who are taking other business classes, especially accounting, you're familiar with total revenue, but total revenue, the formula is price times quantity, and we're going to come back to this formula in future chapters when we talk about profit maximization. So just memorize it. Price times Q, quantity, will give you the total revenue. So instead of just doing all the calculation for price elasticity of demand, you can also calculate the total revenue and compare with the changes in total revenue with the changes in price to figure out if the demand is elastic or inelastic. So there are two different ways that you can basically figure out the demand, elasticity for demand. You can either use the formula or you can use the total revenue test. If your price and your total revenue are changing in the same direction, let's say you're increasing the price as a business owner and you see an increase in your total revenue, it means that your buyers actually are not really that sensitive. You increase the price, but your total revenue is also going up. So your demand actually is inelastic. You can also think about the inverse. When price is going down, your total revenue is going down. Again, demand is inelastic. If you increase the price, but your total revenue, price times quantity, is going down, it means that your buyers actually are sensitive to price changes. They're reacting, right? The total revenue is going down because the quantity demanded is going down a lot. So demand is elastic, or inverse case, price is going down, quantity demanded is going up, right? So they're moving in the opposite direction. So your demand is again elastic. If you increase the price or decrease the price, but your total revenue is not changing, your demand is unit elastic, okay? Because again, for unit elastic, the percentage change in price is equal to percentage change in quantity. So if you increase the price or decrease the price, your total revenue is not going to change. So the demand is unit elastic. So this is one thing that I left in my discussions when I talked about price elasticity of demand. Okay, so look at the materials that I posted on D2L. Do the assignments. I also posted some worksheets for you, kind of extra questions that I recorded or typed down. So look at also those handouts and let me know if you have any question. All right. Have a great week, guys. I'll see you soon. Take care.